It was a dark and stormy night. The wind was howling and the rain was lashing against the windows. I was alone in my house, curled up on the couch with a blanket and a cup of hot cocoa, trying to find some comfort in the midst of the frightening storm. Little did I know, this would be the beginning of the scariest night of my life. As I sat there, sipping my cocoa and watching the lightning strike, I suddenly heard a loud thumping noise coming from outside. It sounded like someone was trying to break in. My heart started racing, and I could feel a cold sweat forming on my forehead. I cautiously got up from the couch and walked towards the window, trying to see through the heavy rain. But I couldn't see anything. Just then, the power went out, engulfing the house in complete darkness. I fumbled for my phone, hoping to use its flashlight to navigate through the house. But to my horror, even my phone had no signal. I was completely cut off from the outside world. Panic started to set in as I realized I was truly alone in the darkness. Just then, I heard a loud crash coming from the front door. It sounded like someone had broken the lock and was trying to enter. My heart was pounding so loud, I was sure whoever was outside could hear it. I quickly ran to the kitchen, hoping to find a weapon to defend myself. I grabbed a kitchen knife and slowly made my way towards the front door. As I reached the door, I could see that it was slightly ajar. The wind was howling louder now, making eerie sounds. I mustered up the courage to open the door, ready to defend myself. But to my surprise, there was no one there. The front yard was empty, except for a few branches that had fallen due to the storm. I let out a sigh of relief, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. I locked the door and went back to the safety of my couch. But just as I was about to settle back in, I heard footsteps coming from upstairs. I froze in fear, my mind racing with a million thoughts. I knew I had locked all the doors and windows, so how could someone be inside my house? The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and I could hear heavy breathing. I grabbed the knife and slowly made my way up the stairs. The sound of my own heartbeat was the only thing I could hear. I reached the landing and saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was a tall, dark figure with glowing red eyes. I could feel my blood turn cold as I stared at the figure, unable to move. The figure started to move towards me, its eyes never leaving mine. I wanted to scream, but no sound would come out. I knew I had to do something, so I closed my eyes and made a run for the bedroom. I locked myself in and waited for what felt like hours. The house was silent, and I could no longer hear any footsteps. Maybe it was all in my head, I thought. I finally mustered up the courage to open the bedroom door and check the rest of the house. But as I stepped into the hallway, I was met with a scene straight out of a horror movie. The walls were covered in blood, and there were strange symbols drawn all over them. The furniture was overturned, and there was a foul stench in the air. I quickly realized that I was no longer alone in the house. The figure was back, and it was not alone. I could hear multiple voices whispering in the darkness. I tried to run, but the hallway seemed to never end. Every time I thought I was nearing the end, I would find myself back at the beginning. I could feel something brushing against my legs, and as I looked down, I saw hands reaching out from under the floorboards, trying to grab me. I let out a blood-curdling scream and ran towards the front door. But as I reached for the handle, I could feel something pulling me back. It was a cold, bony hand, and it was trying to drag me down into the darkness. I fought with all my strength, pushing and kicking. As I finally managed to break free, I ran out of the house and into the storm. I didn't stop running until I reached a gas station, where I collapsed in front of the attendant, my body shaking with fear. The police were called, and they searched the house, but they found no signs of the horrifying events that had just taken place. They tried to reassure me that it was all just a nightmare, but I knew the truth. I have never returned to that house, and I never will. That night will forever remain in my memory as the scariest night of my life. But it was also a night that taught me to never underestimate the power of the unknown.